everybody. My name is James Blackmon. I am the Artistic Director of MadLab Theater in Columbus, Ohio, and the director of Moving In, Moving Out, Moving On, a world premiere production by Cincinnati playwright Liz Coley. And Liz is sitting here with me today. Well, we're not in the same place, but through the magic of Zoom, we are in the same place. And we'll be talking a little bit about the show. So, Liz, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's so nice to meet you.
I know, finally we get to meet. I don't always get to meet the playwrights that I work with, but because one of our big pushes now with MadLab is to work with Ohio playwrights, I hope to meet them all a lot
Mhm.
more. It's great to get a little insight into the person that wrote the work and where it came from and why and all those things I find fascinating and interesting. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am the mother of three. They're all grown and out of the house. I am the empty nester, like Amy. My father and my grandmother both had dementia. My mom at 87 is getting just a little bit dithery, but otherwise fine. She still plays tennis and that sort of thing. Um, I sing in a church choir. I play tennis. And I'm trying to do everything I can to keep myself from the inevitability of aging.
I know what you mean. All right, so you mentioned that you have gone through caring for family members with dementia, which I'm assuming was the impetus for this play. Talk a little bit about that. I didn't realize that your grandfather as well. You went through it kind of twice. Talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that and how that um, gave you the idea for the play.
Well, first with my grandmother, who was a breast cancer survivor, but then started having dementia about 10 years later. And she expressed some regret that she had lived long enough to get dementia, which is a real thing for people, I think, when they're self-aware and know that something is happening to them along those lines. And then with my father, he had not Alzheimer's, but another form of dementia that also affected his ability to speak. He had always lived for his mind. And so it was very difficult to watch him spiraling downhill and always wondering when he was going to get better. He wondered when he would get better.
You know, it's interesting. A lot of that clearly because I've been working on it. So if I'm just listening to you going, wow, a lot of this is right here, is right here in the play. I think one of the things that we used to talk that in during rehearsal
Mhm.
that Laureen, who plays Nan, and I would discuss is this is happening to her. She's a teacher and she knows full well what is going on. And one of the things about for me that would be most frightening is losing the cognitive abilities and knowing that it's happening, knowing that I can't remember, knowing that I can't communicate like I want to, and knowing um, that what's about to happen, not just what is happening, but what's down the road and what that looks like. And it's like you said, I think you said it was your grandmother who said, I don't think I want to go out like this. And we talk about autonomy over one's life. How did that play out? I mean, did you have to talk to your? I mean, did you have any conversations with your grandmother about it, or how did all that work out? How did that work itself?
Well, I mean, it worked out in that there came a point where she just wasn't aware anymore of what was happening to her. And I think I lived in a different state for her last couple of years. Um, so I only saw one intermittent visit, and a very fascinating thing happened. She basically hadn't talked for a long time. And we came in to visit her, and she suddenly looked up at us and started laughing and said, "Is this all you get?" And then she closed back down again. And I've always wondered, what was she thinking in that moment? Was she thinking about a
Absolutely.
dessert that was too small, or was that an existential comment?
That's yeah. Well, I didn't think about the existential comment till you said it. I was like, that's that is interesting because you just don't know what is going through people's minds, especially with dementia and Alzheimer's, where they can come in and out, and they're
Mhm.
very lucid, and you're talking to them in the next moment. They don't know who, not just who you are, they don't know where they are, and the confusion. It's just got to be so tough to deal with, not just for the person, but as I spoke to everybody else in the play, this is happening to you too, especially Sean Brown, who plays the husband, Bob. I said several times to him, this is happening to your wife, but this is very much happening to you as well. And it's happening to the daughter, it's happening to the son-in-law, it's happening to Jimmy, the next door neighbor, it's happening to everybody. Once it starts, it affects the family. Could you talk a little bit about how maybe this affected your family dealing with
Huh.
your relatives, or even you? I don't know if you're Amy specifically. I don't know if you're a control person who had difficulty letting go, but talk a little bit
No,
about
I'm
what
a
that was
little
like.
more of a fatalist myself, except for the whole business about trying not to age. No, so in the independent senior living community that my parents moved into, when my dad was moved into the dementia care unit, my mom went down every day to help him eat
How long
because
have
he
they been married?
60 years almost. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
And she and a couple of other wives routinely went in to help their husbands. And they sort of formed a little support group with each other, which they called the Good Wives Club. They're now the Good Widows Club, but they still meet with each other for meals at
And
least once.
support, I would imagine.
Yeah. But they were not content to just let their loved one disappear into this unit. They wanted to be there helping them as much as they could. So it was a heart-rending process for them. Um,
Probably
yeah,
watching your mother go
it's
through it was hard. Not just watching
yeah,
your father, but watching what was happening to your mother, losing her life partner of 60
mhm,
years. That's
right.
tough. I mean, I've been married 30, and I'm like, I don't know if I do if I lost him. I mean, so I can only
Yeah.
imagine watching it take place
Mhm.
and knowing you can't do anything about it but be there.
And it kind of takes place in slow motion. And one of
Mm,
the interesting things that we all noticed and commented on is that as the observers, you kind of have a sliding scale, a bar that gets lower and lower and lower for how did they do today? Well, they looked at me and I think they recognized me. And
mm.
then after that, oh, their breathing changed when I walked in the room. And your criteria for engagement just notches down and down and down. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking in the play, well, let me not say that. I have a friend, I'll tell you this. I have a friend who very recently, probably last week, put out a Facebook post that said, I think she said, it's 4 a.m., mom has disappeared. And I know. And of course, working on the play, we touch on that in the play as well. But I guess you can't talk about dementia or Alzheimer's without talking about this. And I believe she had a tracker, and that's how they knew where she was. And we talk about silver alert in this. Two things I didn't know about a silver alert, and I never thought about tracking people except for you have your phone. And we even talk about that as well, of course, in the play as well, where Nan goes off and doesn't have her Siri. Was that an actual thing that happened, losing the Siri? Or did you just think about trackers, and or did you know about silver alerts and things like that?
I knew about silver alerts. I thought about the disorientation because losing your sense of direction and map reading and even familiar places not being familiar anymore was something that happened to my dad.
Hmm.
He didn't have a smartphone.
Not then, yeah,
But
right.
so we couldn't track him, but he was still, before he acknowledged what was going on and kind of before my mom acknowledged what was going on, he had to go drive up to Los Angeles to have a meeting. And she let him go because he said he could do it. And of course, he got terribly lost and eventually turned around and came home again because he couldn't find the meeting.
But he made it back home.
He did make it back home. He did make it back home safely.
That's
But
good.
there are the early warning signs like running a stoplight and saying, "Well, there never was a stoplight here." And it's like,
Mm,
yeah, it's been there since 1970. So you can tell that something is just going. Yeah.
right. All right, Liz, thank you so much for talking with me. We will see you tomorrow at our opening night. I just want to let everybody know that Moving In, Moving Out, Moving On by Cincinnati's own Liz Coley. Oh, wait, the world premiere of Moving In, Moving Out, Moving On by Cincinnati playwright Liz Coley opens tomorrow, Thursday, September the 14th. And we run weekends through September the 30th at MadLab. Advanced tickets are available at madlab.net. And then you can always get tickets at the door. Advanced ticket sales are really good though, so don't wait or you might miss it. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Liz, and I will see you tomorrow.
Yes. All right. See you tomorrow.